Welcome to a journey like no other. Imagine stepping into a world where the air is so cold it feels like it could freeze your breath, where the landscape is covered in endless sheets of snow, and the sun barely touches the sky for months at a time. This is the reality of winter in Scandinavia, a reality that, for the people living here, is a way of life, a challenge, and a test of endurance that has been faced for centuries. Now, picture yourself waking up each day to this harsh environment. Winter in Scandinavia isn't a short season. It stretches on from November to April, and in the far northern regions, it can last even longer, sometimes until May. The temperatures here can drop below -30 degrees Celsius, turning the air into a biting cold force that's hard to escape. Snow and ice blanket the land, creating a frozen wilderness that stretches out in every direction. You're surrounded by a world that is, in every sense, frozen in time. But this harsh environment isn't just something to survive. It's something you must learn to live with. It's not just a cold, it's a way of life. The land is covered in a thick layer of ice and snow, and the days are short. There's barely any sunlight to guide you through the long winter months. The terrain is icy, treacherous, and unforgiving. The cold seeps into everything, making it feel like the world around you is frozen too. You feel the chill in your bones, and every breath you take is a reminder of the harshness that surrounds you. Yet, in this brutal world, you must survive. In Scandinavia, winter is more than just a season. It's a challenge you must face head-on. But how? How does one survive in a world that seems to be covered in nothing but ice? The people here have learned how to adapt over centuries, developing remarkable skills and strategies to not just endure, but to thrive in the midst of this frozen landscape. You quickly realize that surviving winter in Scandinavia is about more than just enduring the cold. It's about building homes that can withstand the freezing temperatures and the howling winds. It's about learning how to hunt and fish in conditions so extreme that most would consider them impossible. It's about finding warmth in the smallest of comforts, a fire in the hearth, a meal shared with loved ones, the feeling of community that can keep your spirit warm even as the world around you grows colder. The winter here is relentless. The roads are impassable, the rivers freeze solid, and the snow piles up so high that even the tallest buildings seem to disappear beneath it. The isolation becomes part of your life. The distance between communities is vast, and the days are long, with little sunlight to guide you. The cold and the dark are constant companions. In a place like this, everything you do, every decision you make becomes a matter of survival. But despite these challenges, you notice something remarkable. The people here, the Scandinavians, have learned to live with the winter, to embrace it even. The bitter chill, the isolation, the darkness, they've all become a part of life here. They've built homes that stay warm even in the dead of winter. They've developed unique ways to hunt and gather food in the harshest of conditions. They've learned to rely on each other, creating strong bonds within communities that help everyone survive. Surviving the winter in Scandinavia isn't just about physical endurance. It's about resilience, adaptability, and a deep connection to the land. You realize that to survive here, you need more than just the basics of food and shelter. You need to understand the land, to use its resources wisely, and to work with nature instead of fighting against it. The winter may be long and harsh, but it's also a time for renewal. In the frozen wilderness, There's a sense of quiet strength, a resilience born from centuries of adapting to the cold. It's a reminder that even in the most difficult times, there's always a way forward. There's always a way to survive. So, welcome to this frozen world. As you step deeper into the heart of Scandinavia, you will begin to see how people here not only survive but thrive in the midst of this brutal winter. You'll learn about the ways they've adapted their homes, their food, and their very way of life to endure the cold. You'll feel the weight of the snow, the depth of the cold, and the warmth of the community that keeps them going. This is the land of survival, where winter is not a curse but a challenge that has shaped everything about life here. Now, you're ready to experience the world of Scandinavian survival. Imagine yourself stepping into a traditional Scandinavian house, a stuga, where the walls are made of sturdy wood, carefully constructed to keep the cold at bay. The architecture is simple yet incredibly effective, built with thick wooden logs that have been carefully stacked to form strong walls. The beauty of these homes lies in the natural insulation provided by the air pockets in the wood, which trap warmth and prevent the bitter cold from entering. It's the kind of structure that can withstand the freezing temperatures that sweep across the land for months at a time. As you stand inside, you notice that even the walls feel warm to the touch. That's because the wood acts like a natural insulator, keeping the cold from seeping in and ensuring that the warmth stays inside. This method of construction isn't just about building with wood, it's about creating a home that can endure the most brutal winters. As you move further into the house, the scent of wood fills the air, a comforting, earthy aroma that speaks of tradition and endurance. The floors are made of thick wooden planks, worn smooth by generations of feet that have walked these halls. Yet they still feel solid underfoot. The low ceilings, designed to trap heat, add to the cozy atmosphere, giving the space a sense of intimacy and warmth that stands in stark contrast to the harsh, snow-covered world outside. In the corner of the room, you see the wood-burning stove, its steel body radiating heat, a lifeline during the long, bitter winters. The crackling of the fire is the heartbeat of the house, echoing through the walls, offering not just warmth, but a sense of security. You can feel the heat from the stove spreading across the room, and as you sit near it, the chill in your bones begins to ease. This is where the family gathers around the fire, sharing stories, laughter, and warmth, creating memories that help pass the long, dark nights. The windows, though small, are framed with thick shutters to block out the worst of the cold. Despite their size, they offer a glimpse of the stark landscape outside, where the snow lies thick and untouched. Glistening in the faint light of the low-hanging winter Sunday, you know that, in the dead of night, the wind can howl fiercely. But inside this sturdy structure, you are safe, protected by the craftsmanship of those who have lived here before you. Every log, every beam, is placed with care, with the knowledge that survival here depends on resilience in the face of relentless cold. As you step back and take in the full view of the room, you see that the house, though simple, has everything needed to endure the harshest winters. There are no frills, no excess. The furniture is functional, sturdy, made to last. The walls are lined with shelves, stocked with dried herbs, cured meats, and preserves food that will keep you fed through the leanest months. You can almost feel the warmth of the hearth wrapping around you like a protective embrace, a reminder of the strength of the people who built this home and the survival skills they've passed down through the generations. In this frozen world, warmth is a necessity, not a luxury. The indoor stoves and fireplaces are the heart of every home. You feel the comforting warmth as you approach the crackling fire. The heat from the stove or fireplace radiates through the room, offering a reprieve from the biting cold outside. These stoves are more than just a source of heat. They're a vital part of everyday life, providing warmth for cooking, drying clothes, and most importantly, keeping everyone comfortable during those long, dark nights. The fireplace, often the center of the home, brings families together, whether it's to cook a meal, tell stories, or simply enjoy the glow of the flames. You'll notice that no matter where you go, the fireplace is always tended to carefully maintain to ensure the fire burns brightly throughout the winter. As you sit near the fireplace, you notice the flickering shadows on the walls, casting a soft, warm glow across the room. The fire crackles and pops, its flames dancing and shifting, almost as if they are alive. The sound of burning wood is comforting, a constant companion through the endless nights. The warmth from the fire wraps around you like a heavy blanket, soothing the chill that has seeped into your bones from the cold, snow-covered world outside. The hearth isn't just a place to stay warm, it's the heart of the home. Here, families gather at the end of each long day, sharing stories and laughter as the wind howls outside. The fire becomes a gathering point, the place where memories are made, where children are taught life lessons, and where generations pass down traditions. It's not just the heat that draws everyone in, but the sense of connection, the intimacy that the fire brings, lighting the dark winter nights with a sense of comfort and belonging. You can see the small pots and pans placed carefully around the stove, simmering stews, soups, and broths. The warmth from the stove is used not only to heat the house but also to cook meals that sustain the family through the long winter months. These are hearty, simple meals, root vegetables, meats from the recent hunt, or fish caught from the frozen lakes, foods that are filling and provide much-needed energy to face the challenges of winter. As the smells of the meal begin to fill the air, you feel the hunger in your stomach stir, and the thought of a hot, nourishing meal brings a sense of relief, knowing that this warmth will keep you strong and well. In the corners of the room, you see wet clothes hanging on ropes, drying slowly in the heat. The fire isn't just for warmth and cooking, it's also a drying station, essential for keeping clothes and blankets dry in an environment where moisture can quickly lead to discomfort or illness. The heat from the fire seeps into everything: the clothes, the walls, the very air, keeping the home comfortable and livable even when the outside world is nothing but ice and snow. You realize that in this home, warmth isn't just about comfort, it's about survival. Without the stove, without the fireplace, the family would struggle to stay warm, to cook, and to keep their clothes dry. It's the beating heart of the house, a tool for survival, and a symbol of resilience in the face of nature's harshest elements. And as you settle down by the fire, the flame's warmth lulling you into a peaceful state, you feel a deep appreciation for the fire that has kept so many before you alive through the darkest, coldest nights. Building a house in Scandinavia isn't just about the materials you can buy. It's about utilizing what nature provides. To ensure the home stays warm, people have long relied on local materials such as mud, grass, and even moss to add extra layers of insulation. Imagine carefully packing layers of mud or grass between the walls, or covering gaps with moss to create a natural barrier that traps warmth and blocks out the cold. These methods may sound simple, but they are effective and were passed down through generations. In many homes, the use of these natural materials helps maintain a steady indoor temperature even when the cold outside becomes unbearable. You'd be amazed at how these simple solutions have allowed people to thrive in such harsh climates. The clever use of local resources doesn't just keep the cold at bay, it also connects you to the land, to nature, and to centuries of survival knowledge passed down through the ages. Building a house in Scandinavia isn't just about the materials you can buy, it's about utilizing what nature provides. To ensure the home stays warm, people have long relied on local materials such as mud, grass, and even moss to add extra layers of insulation. Imagine carefully packing layers of mud or grass between the walls or covering gaps with moss to create a natural barrier that traps warmth and blocks out the cold. These methods may sound simple, but they are effective and were passed down through generations. In many homes, the use of these natural materials helps maintain a steady indoor temperature even when the cold outside becomes unbearable. You'd be amazed at how these simple solutions have allowed people to thrive in such harsh climates. The clever use of local resources doesn't just keep the cold at bay, it also connects you to the land, to nature, and to centuries of survival knowledge passed down through the ages. As you walk through the house, you begin to notice how the layers of mud, grass, and moss are carefully integrated into the structure. You can see where the moss has been tucked into the crevices of the logs, filling any gaps that might allow the cold to seep in. It's not just an aesthetic choice, it's a necessary one. The moss, collected from the forest nearby, acts as a natural insulator, absorbing moisture from the air and preventing it from freezing. As it dries, it helps regulate the temperature inside, keeping the warmth in and the bitter cold out. Mud, on the other hand, is used in the construction of the walls, packed carefully between the logs to create an airtight seal. It's a technique that has been passed down through generations, perfected over time to ensure the home stays warm through the harshest of winters. The mud hardens as it dries, creating a sturdy, durable barrier that withstands the extreme cold. When combined with the grass and moss, it forms an effective layer of insulation, ensuring the home remains cozy and comfortable even when the temperatures outside drop to life-threatening levels. You marvel at the simplicity yet effectiveness of these natural building materials. It's a reminder of how closely people in Scandinavia have always worked with nature. These techniques aren't just practical, they're a testament to a deep understanding of the environment and the resources it offers. The use of these materials connects you directly to the land, to the earth beneath your feet, and to a tradition of survival that stretches back for centuries. The connection to the land is not just physical, it's deeply rooted in the culture of those who live here. You can feel the history in the walls, in the layers of natural insulation that have kept families warm for generations. There's a quiet wisdom in the way these materials are used, a knowledge passed down from those who came before, learned through trial and error, and refined over time. The land teaches you to respect it, to use its resources wisely, and to live in harmony with the environment around you. As you step outside, the contrast between the warmth inside the home and the freezing winds that whip through the landscape is striking. But inside, you feel protected, sheltered from the brutal cold. It's not just the logs or mud that keep you warm. It's the knowledge and experience of people who have made their homes in this harsh environment for generations. In using the natural materials of the land, they've created homes that not only survive the winter, but also stand as symbols of resilience and resourcefulness. And as you sit by the fire, feeling the warmth of the stove spread through the house, you realize just how deeply intertwined the people of Scandinavia are with their environment. They've learned to survive, to thrive, and to find comfort in the very materials that the land provides. This home, built with mud, grass, and moss, is more than just a shelter. It's a living testament to the connection between the people and the land that sustains them. Now, think about the way heat is distributed throughout the home. The wood-burning stoves are not only used for cooking, they are also essential for heating. You'll often find them in the central living areas, where the entire family gathers to stay warm. The stove's heat radiates through the room, providing comfort against the chill that seeps in from the walls and windows. In the coldest months, the small coal heaters are often added to provide extra warmth, using coal that's carefully stored throughout the year. But it's not just about the main living areas. You notice that smaller stoves are placed in sleeping rooms or other areas of the house where the family spends time. These small stoves are incredibly efficient at warming up specific rooms, ensuring that even the bedrooms where you sleep stay cozy and protected from the freezing temperatures outside. In these homes, warmth isn't just a convenience, it's a necessity, and every inch of the house is designed to preserve it. As you move through the house, you begin to appreciate the thoughtfulness behind the placement of each stove. In the central living areas, the wood-burning stove takes center stage. This is where the heart of the family life beats. It's not just a stove. It's a multi-purpose tool that provides more than just heat. The warmth from the fire spreads throughout the room, creating a comfortable oasis in the middle of the harsh, cold world outside. The stove's heat rises and permeates the air, filling every corner of the room, pushing back against the cold that tries to creep in through the windows and cracks in the walls. The flame dances within the stove, casting flickering shadows on the walls, adding a sense of security and calmness to the room. But the stove's warmth doesn't stop there. As the family gathers around it, you notice the air growing warmer, the cold from the walls fading away. The stove acts as a constant, reliable presence in the room, and as the wind howls outside, you feel sheltered and safe inside the walls of this humble home. You realize that in these long, dark winter months, it's not just a comfort, it's a lifeline. The stove isn't a luxury, it's essential for survival. Without it, the cold would be unbearable, creeping into every room, making even the simplest tasks uncomfortable. In addition to the central stoves, you notice the presence of smaller stoves tucked into sleeping rooms or other more private areas of the house. These stoves are just as important as the main one in the living room. They are smaller but incredibly efficient, designed to provide heat in the rooms where the family sleeps or spends the most time. The warmth from these stoves is concentrated in the areas that need it most, like the bedrooms where you sleep, ensuring that the cold doesn't invade your rest. As you step into one of these rooms, you can feel the difference immediately. The air here is warmer, more comfortable, and the chill that might have crept in through the walls during the night is kept at bay. The design of the house itself revolves around this need for warmth. Every room is strategically placed to maximize heat retention. The windows are small, reducing the amount of cold air that can seep through, and the heavy wooden walls work in tandem with the stoves to trap the heat inside. You can see that the walls, floors, and ceilings have all been carefully constructed with warmth in mind. Even the smaller stoves, though modest, are integral to maintaining a steady temperature throughout the house, ensuring that every space is as warm and protected as possible from the elements outside. This focus on warmth goes beyond mere comfort. It's a matter of survival. In these homes, the stoves are more than just heating sources. They represent resilience, an understanding of the environment, and the careful use of resources to ensure that every member of the family is safe and comfortable during the long winter months. Every inch of the home, from the central stoves to the small ones in the bedrooms, is designed with this goal in mind. The layout of the house, the placement of the stoves, and the careful storage of fuel all work together to preserve the heat, ensuring that no matter how cold it gets outside, the warmth will always find its way inside. As you settle into your cozy space, you can't help but feel a deep appreciation for how every element of the house has been designed to make sure you're protected from the harshest winters. The stoves don't just provide heat, they provide life during the coldest months. A reminder of the people's ingenuity and the deep bond they have with the land that sustains them. As you venture deeper into the winter wilderness, you quickly realize that survival in the harsh cold depends on your ability to gather food from the land. Hunting is an essential skill for the people of Scandinavia, and it's something they've perfected over generations. You find yourself out in the dense forests, with a thick layer of snow crunching beneath your boots. The elk, deer, and reindeer are elusive, but you know their tracks, their habits, and the places they frequent during the winter months. The methods of hunting are tried and true, passed down through centuries of experience. You might use a bow to silently stalk your prey, blending into the environment to get as close as possible before taking your shot. Or you might set up traps, camouflaging them carefully in the snow, hoping that a deer or reindeer will wander into them. Each trap is set with precision, designed to capture the animal without causing unnecessary harm. If you're hunting in the later months, firearms might become an option, offering greater range and efficiency. But whether you're using a bow, trap, or rifle, the skill required for hunting in these conditions is immense. You need to understand the behavior of your prey, know the lay of the land, and be patient sometimes, waiting for hours, even days, for the right moment to strike. As you move silently through the forest, the cold air nips at your face, but you remain focused, every sense attuned to the sounds and signs around you. The crunch of snow beneath your boots is the only sound that betrays your presence, but you know that, in this vast expanse, the animals are more likely to hear the rustle of the wind than the faintest footstep. The trees around you are covered in frost, their branches heavy with snow. You've spent years learning how to move like a shadow, how to blend into the landscape so seamlessly that even the most wary elk or deer might not realize you're there until it's too late. As you crouch behind a snowbank, you pause, scanning the area. The tracks of the animals are clearly visible in the snow, leading toward a cluster of trees. You follow the tracks carefully, noting the direction of the wind because animals can catch your scent if the wind is wrong. The deer, with their graceful movements, often travel in herds during the winter, but you know that the elk and reindeer prefer to travel alone or in smaller groups. Their tracks are larger, deeper, a sign of their bulk and strength. You might take out your bow now, feeling the familiar weight in your hands. the string taut and ready. Every inch of this moment is a test of patience. As you move closer to your prey, the forest feels alive with anticipation, the weight of centuries of hunting experience on your shoulders. The bow is a tool of precision, requiring you to move slowly, deliberately, never rushing, always calculating the perfect moment to release the arrow. The silent flight of the arrow, once loosed, becomes the embodiment of your skill and patience, your understanding of the rhythm of nature. If your aim is true and your patience is rewarded, you'll have secured the food you need to survive another day. But if the animal escapes, the hunt isn't over. It's just a part of the constant rhythm of survival. You learn not to take failure personally here. It's the land that decides, not you. But each failed hunt brings new lessons, new observations that will shape the way you approach the next one. For those who prefer a more passive method of hunting, traps offer a different kind of satisfaction. You've learned to build traps that blend into the landscape, ensuring that they don't disturb the natural flow of the environment. Using branches, rocks, and ropes, you fashion snares that, when placed in well-traveled areas, will gently but effectively capture an animal. You check them regularly, but never too often, because constant disturbance might scare the animals away. The snow hides the traps well, and the precision with which you've set them can mean the difference between success and failure. When a trap is successful, you feel a quiet sense of pride. The design, the patience, and the careful attention to detail have all paid off. In later months, when the snow has hardened and the cold becomes truly unforgiving, you might resort to using firearms. While not the traditional method, firearms provide a level of efficiency that's hard to ignore in the harshest conditions. They offer the ability to take down larger prey at a greater distance, with less risk of losing the animal. The rifle feels heavy in your hands, a far cry from the more traditional methods, but it is a tool that has its place in this brutal world. The loud crack of a shot may seem out of place in this otherwise serene wilderness, but the sharp crack of a bullet finds its mark just as effectively as an arrow. Whether you're using a bow, a trap, or a rifle, one thing is certain: hunting in the Scandinavian winter demands great skill, patience, and a deep understanding of the land. It's not just about acquiring food, it's about living in harmony with the rhythms of nature, respecting the animals you hunt, and learning how to survive in a world where every step could bring you closer to success or failure. You've learned that hunting isn't just an activity, it's a way of life, deeply intertwined with the landscape and the very survival of the people who call this cold, harsh world home. You take a moment to inspect your tools, the tools that will determine your success in the hunt. A bow feels balanced in your hands, its string taut and ready for action. You've crafted it with care, choosing the right wood, perfecting the draw, every arrow you've made yourself, ensuring they're sharp and accurate. The weight of the quiver against your back reminds you of the responsibility you carry. Each arrow could mean food for the family or failure for the day. If you've set traps, you know the importance of stealth and precision. The materials used are all natural wood, stone, and cordage, crafted with your own hands. You've studied the patterns of animals, setting the traps in places where they're most likely to pass. The knowledge of where to find game is just as important as the tools you carry. Knowing the right time of year, the right weather conditions, and the terrain makes all the difference between a successful hunt and going home empty-handed. And when it comes to firearms, you find that they offer a different kind of power. The rifle, heavier than your bow, requires careful handling, especially in the cold. The ammunition must be stored carefully, and you must take care to clean and maintain the firearm, for a misfire could ruin a hunt. Whether using traditional or modern tools, you realize that hunting in winter is a delicate balance of skill, patience, and respect for the creatures you pursue. You take a deep breath, adjusting the weight of the quiver on your back. The quiver feels like a quiet reminder that the weight of survival rests on your shoulders. Every arrow inside is a small but mighty piece of hope, crafted with your own hands, ready to do its job. You check the bowstring once more, ensuring it's tight and unbroken, ready to snap with precision when the time comes. The bow itself, sturdy and well-worn, is as much a part of you as the land beneath your feet. It's a tool of survival, but it's also a symbol of everything you've learned, everything you've endured. With a quiet nod to yourself, you turn to the traps. Each one has been carefully set, hidden beneath layers of snow and debris, camouflaged to perfection. These traps are a different kind of tool. They're a quiet, patient method of hunting. While the bow requires your hands and your immediate presence, the traps will work while you sleep, while you rest, or while you focus your attention elsewhere. The wood you've chosen is strong but flexible, the stone carefully selected for its weight and balance, and the cordage is tied securely, ensuring that nothing is left to chance. As you look at the set traps, you know it's not just about waiting, it's about trusting your knowledge of the land. The patterns of animals, their habits, and their movements through the forest are all carefully studied and respected. You understand their needs, their pathways, and you've placed these traps where the animals are most likely to wander. If the traps fail, or if the hunt takes longer than expected, you know you can always turn to your firearm. The rifle feels heavier in your hands than the bow, but it offers a sense of power, a greater reach. The weight of the rifle and its ammunition are reminders that, while your skills with the bow and traps are important, there's a place for modern tools as well. You know that in the bitter cold of winter, when game is harder to find, the rifle can be the difference between a successful hunt and a long, empty walk home. You check it over, ensuring it's clean and ready. The cold weather can cause misfires if not properly maintained, so you've made sure to keep it in top condition, regularly cleaning and oiling the parts. Handling the rifle requires care, especially in the winter. The metal parts feel icy to the touch, and you know that moisture from the snow can freeze in the mechanism, preventing a clean shot. You adjust your grip, remembering to keep it dry, to shield it from the biting cold. You've learned to respect the rifle's power, to take your time with every shot, knowing that a hasty pull of the trigger could end in failure, just like any other tool. Whether you're using traditional methods or the modern firearm, the principles remain the same. The hunt is a test of your patience, your skill, and your understanding of the land and its creatures. Each tool you use is an extension of yourself, and every hunt becomes a reflection of your connection to the wilderness around you. The bow, the traps, the rifle, they each serve a purpose, but they all require respect and understanding. Hunting in winter isn't just about the tools. It's about learning to move with the rhythm of the land, to read the signs of nature, and to adapt to the harsh conditions that define this unforgiving season. It's a delicate balance. Each decision you make, each tool you choose, is part of a careful dance between survival and sacrifice, between patience and action. And as you move through the winter landscape, whether stalking through the trees with your bow or waiting in silence by a set trap, you feel the weight of generations of knowledge guiding your every move. The tools you carry are more than just instruments. They are part of a legacy, part of a tradition of survival that spans centuries. And with every successful hunt, you add your own story to that legacy. As the days grow colder and the lakes freeze over, you turn to ice fishing as another means of survival. You head out to a frozen lake, the surface solid beneath your feet, and set about the task of drilling a hole. The drilling techniques are essential. You need to ensure that the hole is deep enough for fish to swim through, but not so wide that the ice weakens. With a hand auger in hand, you laboriously turn the handle, the sound of ice scraping against metal filling the silence of the frozen world. It's hard work, but it's necessary. As the hole opens up, you can't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. It's a small but crucial victory over the winter. Once the hole is made, you drop your fishing line into the water below, waiting for that first bite. The cold air nips at your skin, but you remain focused, knowing that a successful catch will provide sustenance for the days ahead. The fish here aren't easy to catch. They're cold-blooded and sluggish in the winter, and it takes patience to reel them in. You might find yourself waiting for hours, with only the sound of the wind and the occasional crack of ice to keep you company. The cold seems to seep into your bones, but you remain still, your breath visible in the air. The wind howls across the frozen lake, but you've learned to shut it out, to focus on the subtle movements below the surface. Every few minutes, you glance down at the hole, watching the water ripple slightly, but there's no sign yet. Patience is the key. Like hunting, fishing in these cold waters requires a calm, unwavering presence. You've learned to listen to the quiet, to pay attention to the small shifts in the world around you, the way the wind changes, the ice creaks, the occasional fish that brushes against the line. You know, the fish here don't move like they do in warmer seasons. They're sluggish, their bodies weighed down by the freezing water, their metabolism slowed to match the icy environment. Salmon, cod, and halibut are the most common in these parts, each requiring its own method of patience. The salmon, for instance, are clever, wary of the bait, often nibbling at it without committing. You feel a slight tug, your heart skips a beat, but it's only the wind playing tricks with the line. It could be hours before the first real bite. You check the depth of your line again, adjusting it slightly, ensuring that the bait is at the right level. You remember the advice of elders, the ones who taught you how to fish here in the frozen cold. Trust the water, trust the waiting. They've passed down the technique of setting the line just deep enough to tempt the fish, not so deep that it's out of reach. The hole you've drilled is more than just a passage for the line. It's a window into the frozen world beneath. And with each shift of your line, you're reaching into that world, trying to pull life from the depths of winter. The cold is unrelenting, but your resolve is stronger. You settle into the rhythm of it, the sound of your breathing, the quiet whoosh of the wind, the faint tug of the line. Finally, the quiet is broken. You feel it, a subtle pull, just enough to set your heart racing. The fish has taken the bait. You tighten your grip on the rod, giving it just the right amount of tension, careful not to yank too hard, not to lose the fish too soon. The fight is on. The fish struggles, pulling at the line with a strength that feels defiant against the cold. You can almost hear the water itself, thick and frozen, resisting your efforts to drag the fish out. It's a battle of wills, the fish against you, the ice against both of you. But you're steady, focused, feeling the weight of the fish, the energy in the line, knowing that the success of this moment could mean sustenance for days. You reel in slowly, gently, feeling the tension of the line, ensuring the fish is hooked deep enough to be caught. Finally, after what seems like an eternity, you see it, the fish, glistening in the light of the weak winter sun, finally emerging from the depths of the icy lake. It's a cod, its scales shimmering with a pale glow as it flops against the ice, a hard-earned prize. The rush of success is immediate, a feeling of satisfaction and relief that washes over you. You've done it, you've secured food for the family. As you pull the fish from the hole and examine it, the cold air bites at your cheeks, but the warmth of accomplishment floods through you. Ice fishing is not just a physical act, it's a mental one, a test of patience and persistence. Every catch is a reminder of the harshness of winter, but also of the rewards that patience can bring. You gather your gear, the fish now securely tied to your sled, ready to be brought back to the warmth of the home. The sun is low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the frozen lake. You know this is just one of many trips you will make in the coming months. Each trip to the frozen lakes, each time you drill the hole, drop the line, and wait for the fish to bite, is part of the rhythm of survival here. It's a rhythm you've come to respect and depend on, knowing that each successful catch keeps you alive in the frozen world that stretches endlessly around you. And as you head back across the ice, you can't help but smile, knowing that, once again, the land has provided. The cold water is home to a variety of fish, each species having its own patterns and habits. Salmon, often abundant in the summer months, are still present in the winter, though they are harder to find beneath the ice. You know that in deeper waters, the fish tend to gather, so you set your lines there, hoping for a catch. Cod is another popular fish species, prized for its firm flesh and abundance. When you pull one from the icy depths, there's a moment of triumph, as you know that this fish will be a valuable source of protein for your family. But the real prize is the halibut. Large, strong, and elusive, catching a halibut during the winter months feels like a true accomplishment. It takes great skill and a bit of luck to catch one, but when you do, the reward is worth the effort. The fish is big enough to feed your family for several days, providing not only food but the sense of victory that comes with a successful hunt in the depths of winter. In these frozen, harsh months, hunting and ice fishing are not just ways to pass the time, they are essential for survival. The tools, the techniques, and the patience required to track, catch, and preserve food ensure that you can withstand the cold and endure until spring arrives. Every successful hunt, every fish caught beneath the ice, feels like a triumph, a testament to your skill, resilience, and connection to the land. As you sit by the hole, waiting for another bite, the weight of your previous successes lingers in the air. Each catch, each hunt, a testament to your skill, your resilience, and your deep connection to the land that has nurtured you. The halibut is the ultimate prize, the one that everyone hopes for, but few manage to catch. It's a fish that commands respect, not just because of its size and strength, but because it symbolizes the very essence of survival in these harsh conditions. The halibut's flesh is rich, firm and nourishing, providing a hearty meal that can last for days. A vital resource for keeping your family strong through the long winter months. With every trip out to the ice, every hour spent drilling holes and patiently waiting for a catch, you are reminded of the ancient rhythms of life here. This is not just fishing. This is living in tune with the land. The patterns of the fish, the ebb and flow of the seasons, the subtle changes in the water temperature and depth, all these clues inform your actions, helping you decide where to drop your line and when to move on. Over time, you've learned to read these signs instinctively, your body attuned to the language of the ice and water. You've learned to wait, to be patient, knowing that nature's rewards come only to those who respect her pace. But hunting and fishing are not just about the immediate gain. They are about the larger cycle of survival, a cycle that you're a part of, just as the fish, the animals, and the very land itself are. The halibut, for example, represents more than just food. It's the culmination of your effort, a reflection of your determination and your understanding of the ecosystem. Every fish you catch is not only food, but a story, a reminder that, despite the cold, you are still here, still connected to the earth and its creatures. You know that hunting and ice fishing are more than just ways to fill your belly. They are ways of keeping your connection to the world around you alive. With every fish pulled from the icy waters, with every animal tracked and caught in the snow, you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the land and the creatures that share it with you. Each catch, each successful hunt, is a lesson in survival and a reminder that life continues even in the harshest of winters. As you prepare to pack up for the day, securing your gear and collecting your catch, you can't help but feel a quiet pride. There's no greater accomplishment than being able to sustain yourself and your family in this unforgiving environment. The success of the hunt, whether on land or through the ice, is a reminder that survival is earned day by day, moment by moment. And in the cold, when the winter seems unyielding and endless, each meal, each moment of warmth feels like a small victory, a triumph over the elements, a victory earned through your skill, patience, and respect for the world around you. With your catch in hand, you make your way back across the frozen lake, the setting sun casting long shadows over the ice. As you head home, the cold feels less oppressive, for you know that with each successful hunt, with each fish you catch, you are one step closer to seeing the warmth of spring. And until then, you will continue hunting, fishing, surviving, just as your ancestors did, with the same patience, the same skill, and the same connection to the land that has always sustained you. As you step into the dense forest, the smell of pine and fresh earth fills your lungs. The trees stand tall and silent, their branches heavy with snow, offering shelter and sustenance for those who know how to use them. You've learned that the forest is not just a place of beauty, but one of survival. Wood is the lifeblood of your home, essential for both construction and fuel. You take your time selecting the right trees, carefully choosing those that are strong and sturdy, yet not too old. The wood must be reliable, able to withstand the brutal winter winds. With a well-sharpened axe in hand, you cut down the trees, your arms working in rhythm with the sound of the wood cracking. You know that each log you chop will be used to build the walls of your home or to fuel the stoves that keep your family warm. The task is hard, but it's necessary. Each cut is a step toward comfort in a world that can be unforgiving. Once the trees are felled, you gather the logs, loading them onto a sled to transport back home. The weight of the wood is a reminder of the responsibility you carry, but there's also a deep sense of pride in knowing that you've provided for your family. The cold air bites at your skin, but you feel the warmth of accomplishment, the satisfaction of knowing you are using nature's resources to survive. The journey back to your cabin is long, but with each step, you can feel the weight of the logs dragging behind you, their sturdy presence a constant reminder of the hard work you've put in. The sled creaks under the weight, but it holds steady as you continue on the snow-covered path. The snow crunches beneath your boots, each step leaving a mark on the untouched white surface. You're moving against the bitter cold, but your heart feels lighter with every log you collect, knowing that each piece is a critical part of the foundation of your home, your survival. As you approach the cabin, the familiar sight of the sturdy walls feels reassuring. Inside, your family will be warm, protected from the worst of the cold, thanks to the wood you've harvested. The stoves, the heart of your home, will roar to life with the fire you'll feed them. You take a moment to appreciate the home that has sheltered you, realizing that everything you've built has come from the forest and the earth. Once inside, you and your family work together to split the logs, preparing them for the stoves and fireplaces. The crack of the axe as it splits the wood fills the room, a comforting sound that means warmth is on the way. You take your time with the splitting, ensuring the pieces are the right size to burn steadily throughout the night. The cold seems less sharp now, knowing that you've prepared well. As you stack the wood neatly by the stove, you can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the forest that has provided so much. The trees, which stood silently through countless winters, have now given you what you need to face this one. You've learned that survival here isn't just about fighting the cold, but about learning to live with the land, to understand it, and to use its resources wisely. The wood isn't just fuel, it's the essence of life here. Every log represents a day of survival, a sacrifice made by nature to sustain you. The fire will keep the cold at bay, but it's the wood, the effort you've put into gathering it, that makes the warmth so meaningful. As the flames begin to crackle and dance, you feel a deep connection to the land, to the forest, and to the generations before you who have harvested the same trees, made the same choices, and fought the same cold. You sit by the fire, the warmth from the flames wrapping around you like a protective embrace. The snow may still fall outside, and the wind may howl, but inside your home, you've created a haven. The wood, now burning brightly, fills the room with a comforting heat, a constant reminder of the connection between the land and your family. Each log, each piece of wood, is a testament to your strength and your ability to provide. The forest has given you its life. Now, you return that gift with respect, using it to fuel your survival. Beyond the trees, the forest holds more than just wood. You know that the earth is full of plants and herbs that can be used to heal, to soothe, and to nourish. The harsh winters can bring illness, but nature has provided remedies if you know where to look. With careful hands and a keen eye, you search the ground for medicinal herbs, plants that can help with everything from sore muscles to stomach aches. You spot the roots of angelica, wild garlic, and perhaps echinacea, all offering their healing properties in exchange for careful harvesting. You dig them up with precision, making sure not to damage the plant so it can regrow. These herbs, once dried and stored, will serve as vital medicines throughout the long winter months. Some will be used in teas to boost your immune system, while others might be applied as salves to treat wounds or frostbite. The forest, though cold and harsh, holds life-saving secrets within its quiet embrace, and you've learned to respect its power. The knowledge of these herbs, passed down through generations, connects you to your ancestors, those who walked these very paths, relying on the same plants to stay healthy. As you gather the herbs, you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the forest's gifts and the wisdom of those who have taught you how to use them. As you carefully collect the herbs, you take a moment to reflect on how intimately connected you are to this land. The roots of Angelica, with their sharp, earthy scent, are a powerful remedy for sore muscles and fatigue. The wild garlic, pungent and fragrant, will be used to treat infections, its natural antibiotic properties a vital part of your survival. The echinacea will help ward off illness, a trusted companion against the cold, strengthening your immune system through the harsh months ahead. You're mindful of the process, respecting the plants as you harvest them. You carefully dig around their roots, ensuring you don't damage them so they can grow again in the spring. The earth beneath your hands feels cold, but the life you're holding in your hands, the potential for healing, is warm, reassuring. These plants are gifts from the forest, and you've learned over the years that harvesting them requires both skill and reverence. The knowledge of how to use these herbs has been passed down to you through stories and lessons, each generation adding to the understanding of how nature can heal. Your ancestors, who once walked these same paths, would have relied on these very plants to survive the brutal winters. They would have known the importance of knowing which roots to dig, which leaves to dry, and how to prepare them for use. The way they've shared their wisdom through quiet words and patient instruction has helped you learn how to survive, how to thrive, and how to give back to the land that provides so much. As you finish gathering the herbs, you carefully place them in your pouch, feeling a sense of gratitude for the forest and for the generations of knowledge that have shaped your life here. The roots and leaves are not just plants. They are a bridge to the past, a way of honoring the wisdom that has been passed down to you. You can almost hear the voices of your ancestors whispering in the wind, urging you to continue their work, to respect the land, and to use its resources wisely. These herbs, once dried and stored in the warmth of your home, will be more than just remedies. They'll be a lifeline, a reminder that the forest holds everything you need to survive. If you know where to look, they will be teas, salves, tinctures, and poultices, each one a small but essential part of the toolkit you rely on to stay healthy throughout the long, cold winter. When the snow falls heavy and the wind howls through the trees, you'll know that these plants have your back, that the forest continues to offer its sustenance in ways both seen and unseen. The quiet hum of the forest, the rustle of leaves, the sound of your footsteps in the snow all seem to carry a deep sense of connection, not just to the land, but to the people who have lived here for generations before you. You take a moment to pause, the weight of your harvest in your hands, and feel the forest's quiet power, an enduring partnership that has sustained your ancestors and will continue to sustain you. As you prepare for the long winter, the importance of preserving food becomes clear. The harvest from your hunts, the fish caught from the ice, and the herbs from the forest need to be preserved to ensure you have enough to eat when fresh food is no longer available. You've learned to smoke, salt, and pickle your food, each method carefully tailored to the type of food being preserved. You start with smoking fish and meats, hanging them near the fire or in a smoking shed. The smoke does more than just impart a rich flavor. It helps preserve the food, drawing out moisture and preventing spoilage. It's a slow process, but it's worth it. The meat will keep for weeks, and the fish, once smoked, can be eaten in stews or dried further for future meals. You feel a sense of satisfaction as you watch the meats and fish take on a golden brown hue, their edges crisping under the heat of the smoke. For other foods, you turn to salting. The grains of salt draw out moisture, locking in flavor and preserving the food for months. You pack fish, meats, and even vegetables into salt, knowing they'll remain edible long after the last fresh produce has gone. And then there's pickling, where you preserve herbs, fruits, and vegetables in brine. These methods, though old-fashioned, are incredibly effective, ensuring that you never go hungry, even in the dead of winter when fresh food is scarce. As you pack the salt into the fish and meats, you feel the weight of the responsibility settle over you. Each grain of salt is not just a preservative, but a small act of preparedness for the harsh months ahead. You can almost hear the whispers of your ancestors, who carefully salted their food in the same way, knowing that this simple act would provide sustenance when the world outside was locked in a deep freeze. The salt works its magic, drawing out moisture and locking in the flavors of the wild, ensuring that your catch will last. You take care in salting the meats, each piece carefully coated, rubbed, and stored in tightly sealed barrels. The smell of salted fish fills the air, familiar and comforting, a sign that you are doing what needs to be done to ensure the survival of your family. The fish, once salted, will keep for weeks, sometimes even months. And you know that in the dead of winter, when the lakes are frozen solid and hunting becomes more difficult, this food will be invaluable. You've learned that patience is just as important as skill in preserving food, letting it cure, giving it time to reach its peak before it's ready to be eaten. Once the fish and meat are salted, you turn to pickling. The jars, carefully prepared, are filled with brine, a mixture of water, salt, and sometimes a little vinegar to help preserve the vegetables. You add herbs, carrots, onions, and whatever else is still available from the harvest. As you pour the brine over the vegetables, you think of the pickled cabbage, the fermented roots, and the tangy flavor that will come in handy during the cold months when fresh produce is gone. The beauty of pickling is its ability to bring a burst of freshness to a meal when everything around you is frozen and lifeless. The preserved vegetables will be eaten with stews, alongside meats, providing a small relief from the monotony of winter meals. You line the jars in cool, dark places, perhaps a cellar, where the temperature stays steady and the air remains fresh. The thought of your preserved food provides a sense of security. It's a quiet comfort to know that the labor you've put in now will carry you through the hardest times. The pickling, the salting, and the smoking, each technique has its purpose. Each method honed over centuries to withstand the unforgiving cold of winter. In the corner of your storage area, you see the smoking meats, the salted fish, and the pickled vegetables. Each item a small victory against the cold. Each jar a promise that you will not go hungry. These stores, carefully prepared, will sustain you and your family when the snow drifts high, when the wind howls outside, and when the cold feels like it might swallow everything up. As you stand back and survey your work, There's a quiet satisfaction in the knowledge that you've provided. You've taken the harvest from the land, the fruits of your hunts and your labor, and you've ensured their survival. The forest, the lakes, the land, they all give in their own time, and in return, you've given them the respect and care they deserve. And as you close the last jar of pickled vegetables, a sense of peace settles over you. You know that the long winter ahead holds its challenges, but with your food carefully preserved and stored, you'll be ready. The forest, the fish, the herbs, they've all been carefully preserved. And you too are part of this cycle of life, survival, and renewal. The cold may come, but with each method of preservation, you've ensured that you will face it head on, strong and sustained. Once the food is smoked, salted, or pickled, you turn your attention to storage. You have your cellar, a cool, dark place where the food will remain safe from the warmth of the home and the biting cold of the outside world. The food, carefully wrapped and stored, is ready to be used in the coming months. The knowledge of preservation is something you carry with pride, passed down from your ancestors who faced similar winters, who had to find ways to store and preserve food to ensure they survived. You know that without this careful preparation, the harsh winter months would be nearly impossible to endure. The preserved meats, fish, and herbs will sustain you through the cold, providing you not just with nourishment, but with the comfort that comes from knowing you have enough to survive. As you look at your stores, your shelves lined with jars, bundles of dried fish, and salted meats, you feel a quiet confidence. The land, in all its harshness, has provided. And with the careful use of nature's resources, you've ensured that your family will survive the winter. As you step back and take a moment to admire the work you've done, the shelves in your cellar are a testament to your effort and foresight. The jars are packed tightly with pickled vegetables, each one sealed carefully to preserve the vibrant colors and flavors within. The bundles of dried fish hang in neat rows, their silvery scales catching what little light filters through the cool, dark room. The salted meats, wrapped in cloth, are stacked with precision, their rich scent already filling the air, reminding you of the meals to come. You can almost feel the weight of your ancestors' wisdom in the room, as though their knowledge is woven into every carefully preserved jar and bundle. The cellar, with its cool, consistent temperature, is the perfect environment for storing your food. It's protected from the heat of the hearth, which would cause the food to spoil, and the bitter cold outside, which could freeze everything solid. Here, in this underground space, your food remains at a steady temperature, neither too hot nor too cold. The darkness of the cellar serves as a natural barrier against the spoiling light, ensuring the food will remain fresh for months. The air is cool but not icy, and there is a faint, earthy smell of soil and preservation that fills your senses as you stand among the supplies. You take another look around, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. These stores represent not just the fruits of your labor, but the survival of your family during the long months ahead. You know that when the winds howl and the snow piles high outside, you won't have to worry about food. The meats, the fish, the vegetables, all carefully preserved, all ready to be used. The thought of a warm stew made from salted meat and pickled vegetables, or a steaming bowl of dried fish, comforts you, knowing that it will sustain you through the long, dark nights. The act of preserving food is more than just a practical task. It's an essential part of life, an ongoing ritual that connects you to the land and to the generations before you. The knowledge you've inherited is a lifeline, passed down with care and reverence. Your ancestors, who once faced the same challenges, would be proud of the way you've continued their practices, adapting their methods to your own circumstances but keeping their traditions alive. You can feel their presence, their quiet guidance, as you work to preserve your food and your future. As you close the cellar door and secure it for the season, a quiet peace settles over you. You've done the work. You've gathered what the land has given, you've preserved it, and now your family will be safe. The work of the winter has been done, and you can rest easy knowing that the harshest months won't bring hunger. There's something deeply comforting in the knowledge that nature has provided and that you've taken what's necessary to ensure your survival. With the cellar stocked and the food preserved, you feel ready for whatever winter may throw your way. The cold and darkness of the coming months will be met with the warmth of your home, the comfort of your family, and the security of your stores. As the first snowflakes begin to fall softly outside, you feel the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you've prepared well. The land, the forest, and the lakes have provided. And now, with each preserved jar and salted fish, you have ensured your place in the cycle of survival, strong, prepared, and ready for the winter ahead. As the first signs of winter approach, you begin the process of preparing for the long months ahead. You know that without careful planning, the cold and isolation could leave you vulnerable. The harvest from your summer and fall hunts, your fish from the frozen lakes, and your gathered herbs need to last through the worst of the season. It's not just about collecting food, it's about being smart, ensuring you have enough to feed your family from the first snowfall to the thaw of spring. You spend days going through your supplies, carefully calculating how much food you need. You take into account the long, dark months when fresh food will be impossible to come by. You measure portions, making sure you have enough meat, fish, vegetables, and grains to last. Each batch of preserved food is packed with care, knowing that your success during the winter depends on these preparations. You mark the storage shelves, keeping track of which foods need to be used first, so nothing goes to waste. Every jar, every bundle of dried meat, every bag of salted fish is an investment in the survival of your family. As you organize your food stores, the weight of responsibility settles in. Each item, each preserved jar and bag, represents more than just sustenance. It represents your commitment to your family's survival. You know that if something goes wrong, if a storm traps you in the cabin for days, if hunting or fishing proves unsuccessful, you'll have to rely on what you've carefully packed away. Patience has been your ally throughout the process. You've spent hours, days, ensuring that every meal will be accounted for, knowing the value of not just having enough, but having quality food to keep you healthy through the winter months. You double-check your supplies, sorting through the preserved meats, the pickled vegetables, and the dried fish. You recall the advice passed down to you by your elders: always be prepared. Never assume that nature will be kind. The cold months can be long and harsh, and without the right food, even the simplest task becomes a struggle. You've learned to plan not just for quantity, but for variety as well, ensuring that each meal provides not only nourishment, but comfort and balance. You've also considered the need for water, knowing that during the winter months, it will be more difficult to access fresh sources. The frozen lakes and rivers won't yield easily to you. You've already begun to stockpile snow in large containers, ready to be melted and purified. You make sure that your water storage is placed in an area where it won't freeze, keeping it as safe and accessible as possible. The ice and snow, once an obstacle, have become your resource. The thought of spring feels distant now, but you know that by the time it arrives, you'll have to be prepared for the thaw. By then, the preserved meats and dried fish will need to be replenished. The careful balance of food preservation, water management, and strategic planning ensures that you won't just survive the winter, you'll be ready to welcome the return of the warmth, the growth, and the bounty of the season. As you finalize your preparations, you step back, taking in the sight of your work. The cabin shelves, now full of food, feel like a fortress. You've done what you can to ensure that no matter how long the winter lasts, no matter what challenges it may bring, your family will have enough to stay strong. Survival isn't just about having enough. It's about being smart, being prepared, and having the foresight to plan ahead. In these long months ahead, the food you've stored, the careful planning you've done, will be your greatest ally. The task is far from over. You know that winter will still bring its tests, harsh storms, cold spells, and the ever-present danger of running out of supplies. But for now, you feel a quiet satisfaction in the knowledge that you've done all you can. You've faced the uncertainty with preparation and determination. The first snowfall is almost here, but you are ready. You know that your careful planning will carry you through, keeping you and your family safe and nourished as the seasons change. To ensure that your food lasts, you rely on the time-tested techniques of freezing, drying, and salting. The freezing comes easily in winter, as the cold air outside acts as a natural freezer. You place your meats, fish, and vegetables outside, careful not to expose them to the elements for too long, so they don't spoil. The frozen food will keep for months, providing a reliable source of protein and sustenance when fresh food is scarce. For everything that can't be frozen, you turn to drying and salting. Drying fish and meat is an age-old practice that you've mastered. You hang the fish in the cold air, or smoke it, letting the dry winds remove all the moisture, preserving it for later use. The meats, too, are dried carefully, their rich flavors intensifying as they cure. You can almost taste the reward of your efforts, the sense of knowing that these dried meats will keep you fed even when the winds are howling outside and hunting is impossible. The salting of food is another crucial method. You pack your fish and meats in salt, which draws out moisture and prevents spoilage. The salt preserves the food, but it also intensifies the flavor, making every bite a little more special. You have a careful process, ensuring that each piece is coated thoroughly and that nothing is overlooked. The salted food will keep for months, offering you nourishment throughout the bitter winter months. Every jar of pickled vegetables, every slab of salted meat is a small victory, a guarantee that you'll have enough to eat when nothing grows outside and nothing moves through the forests. Once the food is properly salted and dried, you move on to the final step, storage. You know that this is just as important as the preservation process itself. Temperature control is crucial, and you ensure that each batch is placed in the right environment to maintain its freshness and effectiveness. The cold cellar, with its cool, steady temperature, is perfect for storing your salted meats and dried fish. You arrange everything with care, stacking the preserved foods neatly on shelves, knowing that this food will see you through the worst of the winter. But it's not just the meats and fish that need attention. You've also prepared a variety of pickled vegetables, which are essential for adding some much-needed variety to your meals during the cold months. The jars, filled with herbs, roots, and cabbage, are carefully sealed, each one bubbling with anticipation as it slowly ferments and preserves itself. These pickled vegetables will add not only flavor, but vital nutrients to your diet, keeping scurvy at bay and offering a touch of freshness when everything else feels heavy and stale. You check the jars one last time, ensuring they are sealed tightly and stored away from the warmth of the cabin. Each jar is a lifeline, a reminder that the work you've done now will sustain you when the snow piles up, when the cold winds howl outside, and when the lakes freeze over, hiding the fish beneath thick layers of ice. As you look at the shelves, the array of preserved food gives you a sense of peace. The knowledge that, no matter what happens, you've done everything possible to prepare for the months ahead fills you with quiet confidence. The frozen, dried, and salted food will sustain you no matter how harsh the winter becomes. The careful preservation has become a ritual, one that ensures that you and your family won't face hunger, even when fresh food becomes a distant memory. And as the first snowflakes begin to fall softly outside, you close the cellar door and let out a sigh of relief. The world beyond your cabin may be covered in snow, the wind may grow fiercer, and the days may shorten, but inside, you have all you need to survive. The land has provided, and you've made sure to use its gifts wisely. Food is no longer just sustenance. It is a reminder of your connection to the earth, the forest, and the seasons, and how through patience, care, and foresight, you can thrive no matter the cold or the darkness outside. Water is essential for life. But in winter, it becomes one of the trickier supplies to manage. The lakes and streams may freeze solid, and fresh water can be hard to come by. But in this world of snow and ice, water is still within reach. You just need to know where to look. You've learned that snow and ice can provide you with the water you need to survive. It's a simple process, collecting snow from clean patches of the ground or from the trees, and then melting it in pots over the fire. It's not quick, but it's effective, and it's something you've come to rely on. As the snow builds up outside, you gather it in large containers, knowing that even a small amount will be enough for a day's needs. In the depths of winter, when the snow is deep and the lakes are covered in thick ice, you know how to extract water from the ice. You carefully chop a hole in the lake's frozen surface, letting the ice melt slowly until you have enough water to drink and use for cooking. The cold of the ice is harsh, but it's also a vital source of life. You've learned to make sure the water is clean and safe before drinking it, always melting it carefully and filtering out any impurities. As you stand by the frozen lake, the weight of the axe in your hands is familiar, a tool that has become essential to your survival. With each strike, the ice cracks and splinters, the sound echoing through the still, frozen landscape. You take your time, knowing that the hole needs to be large enough for water to gather, but not so wide that the ice becomes unstable. The effort is hard, your breath visible in the crisp air, but the thought of fresh, drinkable water keeps you steady. Once the hole is made, you crouch down beside it, watching the cold water slowly pool at the bottom. The chilled air bites at your skin, but you know the value of this moment. Water is not just a necessity, it is life itself. especially during these months when everything else seems to be locked in ice. As the water begins to accumulate, you use your container to scoop it up, bringing it back to the warmth of the fire. It takes time, more time than you'd like, but you know that in these harsh months, patience is the price of survival. Once back inside, you place the water over the fire, watching it slowly come to a boil. The warmth from the flames is a welcome relief from the cold you've just experienced, and you can feel the heat seeping into your bones. While the water heats, you turn your attention to the filters, a cloth or piece of fabric you've kept for this very purpose. You pour the water through it, knowing that it will catch any debris or impurities that might have snuck in while collecting it. It's a simple process, but it's one that ensures the water is safe to drink, free from anything that could cause illness. Once filtered, you let it cool for a moment before filling your mugs or storage containers. The water, now ready for drinking or cooking, feels like a small miracle, something so essential, yet so easy to overlook when it's readily available. You're reminded that, in winter, everything requires effort. The snow and ice are abundant, but turning them into water takes time, work, and skill. As you sip the warm water, you can't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for this essential resource. It's one of the many things that make winter survival possible. A constant reminder of the delicate balance you maintain between yourself and the land. The process becomes routine, a part of the rhythm of winter life. You make your way to the frozen lakes whenever the need arises, knowing that with the right tools and patience, water is always within reach. When the snow piles up outside and the world is encased in ice, you know that you can rely on the lessons passed down through generations. In these moments, you understand that survival is not just about what you have, but about what you can make with what's available to you. As you finish your water, the fire still crackling softly in the background, you feel a deep connection to the land that sustains you. You've learned to adapt, to make the most of the resources around you, and to turn the cold and snow into something vital, something that keeps you going through the bitter, long winters. Having enough water is as important as having enough food. You rely on the snow and ice, but you know you need to be careful to use it wisely. You store water in large jars, buckets, or other containers, keeping them in cool places, ensuring they don't freeze solid before you can use them. In addition to drinking water, you know that water is needed for cooking, washing, and other daily tasks. You must always have a reserve. You plan ahead, setting aside extra water in smaller containers for quick access when needed. When you're melting snow or chopping ice, you make sure to keep a steady supply, always thinking ahead to what tomorrow's needs might be. You've learned to ration your water supply carefully, making sure to use it as sparingly as possible without running short. As you survey your storage, the jars and containers full of melted snow and ice, you feel a deep sense of security. Water, though abundant in the form of snow and ice, is not always so easy to come by when the days grow colder and the land becomes more inhospitable. With your careful management, you've ensured that you'll have enough to survive the winter months without worrying about your supply running out. The jars and buckets, now lined neatly in your storage area, represent your foresight and preparation. Each container is filled with melted snow and freshly chopped ice, carefully stored to keep it from freezing again. You've made sure to place them in areas that remain cool but protected from the worst of the cold, where the water will stay in liquid form and be ready when you need it. You've learned to recognize the importance of these reserves water for drinking, water for cooking, water for washing, each a vital part of your daily life during the winter months. As you stand over your storage, you feel a sense of relief. In a world where the weather is unpredictable, where the land can freeze over and make even the simplest tasks feel impossible, you know you've done everything you can to ensure your survival. Water is no longer a worry, it is a resource that you've secured, both for yourself and for your family. You've ensured that no matter how cold the days get or how harsh the conditions become, you'll always have access to it. You plan ahead, knowing that the amount of water you use each day must be carefully considered. The daily tasks, heating water for a meal, washing dishes, cleaning, require more water than you realize. You're mindful of how much you use, always considering tomorrow's needs. When the snow falls heavily outside and the lakes freeze solid, you can rely on your reserve of water, knowing it will sustain you until the next snowfall or thaw. Even as the temperature drops and the landscape becomes a frozen world, your careful management ensures you'll never go thirsty. The small containers of water, placed in easy-to-reach spots, become a quick source of relief when you need it most. You never have to worry about running out, because you've learned how to ration it properly, how to conserve it for the long, cold nights. In these moments, as you survey the jars and buckets full of precious liquid, you realize that survival is a careful balance. It's not just about having enough food or shelter, it's about managing the resources you have, making sure you don't take anything for granted. Water, something so simple and abundant in other seasons, is a lifeline in winter, and you've learned to treat it with the respect it deserves. The ice and snow may be cold and unyielding, but you know how to turn them into something essential. With every jar of water, with every carefully calculated ration, you've built a sense of security that will see you through the toughest of winters. And in that security, you find the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are prepared, that you've done the hard work to ensure your family's survival. The winter months will come, and the land will be cold. But with your careful planning and management, you will face them without fear. As the first signs of winter begin to settle in, you realize how crucial it is to have enough food for the long months ahead. The harvest from your summer and fall hunts, the fish you've caught from the lakes, and the herbs gathered from the forest need to be carefully preserved. You've spent days calculating how much food your family will need, making sure to account for the long, cold months when nothing will grow, and fresh food will be impossible to come by. You carefully sort through your stores, measuring the portions of meat, fish, grains, and vegetables. Each batch of preserved food is packed and sealed with the utmost care, knowing that the success of the winter will rely on how well you've prepared. Every jar, every bundle of dried fish, every sack of salted meat represents a step toward ensuring your family's survival. You carefully label the storage shelves, marking which foods need to be used first, making sure nothing goes to waste. The weight of the responsibility feels heavy, but there's also a quiet sense of pride in knowing that you are prepared for whatever the winter brings. As you continue to sort and pack your supplies, you feel the steady rhythm of your actions, a familiar routine passed down through generations. The meat, already cured and salted, is stacked neatly in its place, each piece ready to nourish you when the snow falls heavy and the hunting becomes scarce. The dried fish, a staple that will feed you in the weeks when fresh food is no longer available, is organized into bundles. You take care to check each bundle, ensuring that none of the fish is too brittle or damaged. The vegetables, though now preserved in jars, remind you of the harvest's bounty: root vegetables, cabbages, and onions, all packed in salt and brine, waiting for the day they will add flavor and nutrition to your meals. You think back to the harvest seasons, the months of abundance that now seem so far away. In the midst of the summer's warmth, it seemed impossible that the days would grow so short and cold. But now, with the first frost on the ground and the days shortening, you understand just how much effort it takes to secure enough food for the winter. You've gathered everything you can, and yet the cold months are still looming, each day bringing you closer to a time when the world will be blanketed in snow and the resources of the earth will be hidden beneath layers of ice. You feel the weight of the responsibility that rests on your shoulders, keeping your family safe, well-fed, and warm. As you continue to pack, you think about the small sacrifices that will make this possible. You've stored enough meat to last months, enough fish to keep your family strong, and enough vegetables to add variety to your meals. But beyond the physical preparations, there's also a sense of peace in the knowledge that you've done everything possible to ensure their survival. There's a quiet satisfaction in the careful organization of the food, knowing that your family's well-being depends on the methodical planning you've put in place. You stand back for a moment, taking in the neatly stacked jars, the rows of salted and dried meats, the carefully labeled bags of grains and seeds. You can see the work of the past months reflected in these stores. And with each label and each jar, you're reminded of the sacrifices made to ensure you're ready for the challenges that winter will bring. The shelves now seem full, but you know that there's still more work to be done. The final preparations will be made in the coming days. But for now, you've accomplished what you set out to do. You've secured the food, and with it, the knowledge that you and your family will not go hungry when the world outside is frozen. You close the storage door with a sense of quiet pride. The weight of winter's challenges may still lie ahead, but with each effort, you've ensured that you are ready. You have the food, the water, and the shelter, the basic essentials to survive. But more than that, you have the knowledge that, like your ancestors before you, you've prepared, and you'll face the harshness of winter with resilience, strength, and confidence. You know that freezing, drying, and salting are essential methods to preserve food during the harsh winter. The freezing process is simple enough in winter. The cold air outside provides a natural freezer. You place the fish, meats, and vegetables outside, careful not to expose them to the elements for too long so they don't spoil. These frozen foods will last for months, providing you with a reliable source of protein and sustenance when fresh food becomes a distant memory. For the foods that can't be frozen, you turn to drying and salting. The dried fish and meats are an old, tried and true technique you've mastered. Hanging fish in the cool winter air or smoking them removes all moisture, preserving the food for future use. The flavors intensify, and the food will last for weeks. You coat meats with salt, packing them tightly to ensure they remain fresh, preventing spoilage. Salting doesn't just preserve the food, it also intensifies the flavors, making each bite more satisfying when you need it most. As you hang the fish in the crisp winter air, you feel a sense of satisfaction in the familiar task. The fish, now stripped of moisture and suspended to dry, will become a staple in your winter diet. The cold air works its magic, drawing out every last bit of water from the fish, ensuring that it will last for months. The smoking process adds an extra layer of preservation, giving the fish a rich, smoky flavor that will infuse every bite. You watch as the fish slowly turn golden brown, their edges crisping under the cool winds. The smell of the smoke fills the air, a comforting scent that signals a successful preservation effort. For the meats, you follow the same method, carefully salting each piece, rubbing the salt deep into the fibers to draw out the moisture. Once packed tightly with salt, you place them in storage, knowing that the preservation process will keep them edible throughout the coldest months. The salted meats become an essential source of protein, their rich, savory flavors only enhanced by the curing process. When the snow covers the ground and hunting becomes a challenge, these salted cuts of meat will become a reliable part of every meal. In addition to salting and drying, you also turn to the process of pickling for some of your vegetables and herbs. The brine, made from water, salt, and sometimes vinegar, will preserve the natural crunch and flavor of the vegetables, ensuring they remain edible when the earth is frozen and barren. You carefully pack the pickling jars, ensuring they are sealed tightly to keep out air and maintain the preservation. The pickled vegetables, when opened, will offer a burst of flavor and nutrition, a welcome change from the heavier meats and fish. As you arrange the jars of pickled vegetables alongside your dried fish and salted meats, you feel a deep sense of accomplishment. Each method, whether freezing, drying, salting, or pickling, is a vital part of the survival strategy that will sustain you through the winter. The food you've preserved is a direct connection to the land and to the work of the previous months. It's a testament to the effort, patience, and care you've put in, knowing that your family will have enough to eat even when the land outside is covered in ice. You feel the weight of winter's challenges, but with every jar, every piece of salted meat, every bundle of dried fish, you know you are ready. The knowledge that you've prepared for the harshest months provides a quiet peace. There's nothing left to chance. Everything is stored carefully, ready to be used when the need arises. The freezing cold, though relentless, will no longer be a threat to your food supply. It will simply be another part of the world you've learned to live with, a world you have mastered, where your survival depends on the care and attention you've paid to every detail. In the stillness of your cabin, as the wind howls outside and the snow continues to fall, you can rest easy. You've done the work. Your food is safe, preserved, and waiting to sustain you through the winter. Water, though essential, becomes difficult to find in winter when the lakes and rivers freeze solid. But you've learned that snow and ice can provide all the water you need to survive. You gather snow from clean patches, careful to only collect the freshest, most uncontaminated snow. It's not a quick process, but you know that once it's melted, it will give you enough water for the day. You bring the snow inside, melting it slowly in pots over the fire, where it will become clear, drinkable water. When the snow is deep and the lakes are frozen, you head to the frozen lakes, where you've learned to chop holes in the thick ice. It's hard work, the cold biting at your skin, but you know that the ice beneath holds the life-giving water you need. Once the hole is made, you collect the water, careful not to allow any impurities to taint it. The melting ice is your vital source of hydration, and you make sure to filter it before drinking, using cloths to catch any floating particles. As the ice begins to melt under the warmth of the fire, the water gradually transforms, becoming clear and drinkable. The process is slow, but you've learned to be patient. You know that even in the most freezing of winters, water is still within your reach if you know where to look. The crackling of the fire is a comforting sound, and you keep an eye on the pot, making sure the water doesn't boil over. Every moment spent preparing the water feels like a small victory over the cold. Once the water has melted and filtered, you pour it into storage containers, making sure there's enough for the day's needs. You use it for drinking, cooking, and washing, knowing that every drop counts. The melting snow is more than just a source of hydration. It's a lifeline in the middle of a world covered in ice and snow. Without it, survival would be far more difficult. But with the knowledge of how to gather it, how to melt it, and how to ensure its purity, you can depend on it. When the lakes are frozen and the snow is deep, you know you'll need to venture out to chop through the ice for your next supply. You gather your tools, your axe, your bucket, and your filters, and head to the frozen lake. The cold bites at your skin as you swing the axe into the thick ice, each strike sending a sharp echo across the frozen landscape. It's hard work, but you've done it countless times before, and you know that water is waiting beneath the surface. The ice seems impenetrable at first, but you trust your instincts and experience, working steadily until you have a hole wide enough to reach the water below. The cold is harsh, and the wind stings your face, but there's a strange satisfaction in the knowledge that you're gathering what you need to survive. You lower your bucket into the hole, drawing up the precious water, the clear liquid flowing steadily into your container. You're careful to avoid the impurities that might settle at the bottom of the ice, always making sure the water you collect is as clean as possible. As the bucket fills, you can feel the weight of the water, the life it represents. Once you have enough, you filter the water once more before bringing it back to your home. The process is tedious, but each successful trip to the ice is a reminder of your resourcefulness, your ability to make the most of the world around you, even in the harshest conditions. Back inside, you melt the water, watch it clear, and fill your containers. And then you feel a deep sense of relief. You know that in this cold, isolated world, where the lakes freeze solid and the rivers are bound by ice, water is one of the most precious resources. But with the snow, the ice, and your hard work, you've found a way to turn nature's harshness into your advantage. You've turned a challenge into a solution, ensuring that your family won't go thirsty, no matter how deep the snow or how cold the night. Having enough water isn't just about drinking, it's needed for cooking, washing, and everyday tasks. You store your water in large jars or buckets, carefully placed in cool, dry spots to prevent freezing. You plan ahead, making sure you have a reserve of water for each day, especially for emergencies or when fresh snow might not be easily accessible. As you go about your daily tasks, you ration your water, always thinking ahead. When melting snow or chopping ice, you ensure a steady supply, constantly aware of your reserves. You keep a smaller container of water close at hand, just in case you need a quick refill for cooking or washing. The effort of managing water is constant, but it gives you peace of mind knowing that you've made the necessary preparations. Your careful management ensures that no matter how cold the days get or how harsh the conditions, you will always have enough water to survive. You take a moment to check your water storage, the large jars and buckets that you've filled with melted snow and ice. Carefully placed in a cool, dry corner of your cabin. The containers are covered, shielded from the elements, and stacked neatly so they remain accessible when needed. Each container is a source of reassurance, a safety net for when you're busy with other tasks and can't be out gathering more snow or ice. As the days go by and the cold grows harsher, you make it a habit to monitor your water use. You're aware of how quickly it can deplete when the need for cooking, cleaning, or washing increases. Every drop counts, especially as the winter settles in. When you start cooking, you carefully measure the water you use, making sure to reserve enough for the next meal and the day's tasks. Even when you wash dishes or your hands, you use water sparingly, always conscious of your supply. For days when fresh snow is scarce or when the ice becomes difficult to chop through, you feel a sense of relief knowing that you've planned ahead. You keep a smaller, easily accessible container of water by the stove or in the kitchen area, ready to be used for quick refills when you need it most. The proximity of this small reserve gives you the flexibility to move through the day with less worry, knowing that you won't be caught without water in the middle of cooking or cleaning. There are days, of course, when you need more than you anticipated. Perhaps you're baking bread, or your clothes need washing, but you've learned to adjust. You keep the water flowing steadily from the storage jars, always topping off what you use, ensuring that every container remains full. As the cold wind howls outside, you work calmly, moving in and out of the cellar where your reserves are stored. The effort of managing your water may be constant, but it's routine now, part of the rhythm of winter life. You've learned that patience is just as important with water as it is with food preservation. Each time you bring in fresh snow or break through the thick ice to collect water, you remember that this is part of your survival. The consistency with which you manage your resources, planning ahead, rationing, and storing wisely gives you a quiet sense of security. Even when the world outside is frozen and unyielding, you know that you've done everything possible to prepare, to ensure that your family will have enough water to survive through the long, dark months. By the time the days stretch out and the cold seems unbearable, you can rest easy knowing that the work you've done carefully managing your water supplies has set you on a steady path. No matter how deep the snow or how harsh the weather gets, you've ensured that water will not be a concern. Your careful planning gives you the peace of mind you need to focus on the other challenges winter might bring. The effort may be constant, but it's worth it, because each time you take a sip, cook a meal, or wash a dish, you're reminded that you are prepared, and survival is already within your reach. As the long nights stretch on and the cold settles in, there's a certain magic in the air, an anticipation that builds as the winter solstice approaches. The people of your community are preparing for Yule, the Norse festival that celebrates the return of the Sunday. It's a time of community bonding, a time when families and neighbors come together to share in the warmth of the season. The darkness of winter may seem overwhelming, but Yule brings light back into the world, both literally and spiritually. You look forward to the feasts and the gift-giving customs that have been passed down for generations. The table will be filled with hearty dishes, meats, and root vegetables, all carefully preserved and prepared for this special occasion. The Yule log, carefully selected from the forest, will burn brightly in the hearth, and the glow of the flames will warm the faces of those gathered around the fire. The celebration is not just about the food, but the connection, the sense of community that Yule brings. It is a time to reflect on the past year, to give thanks for what you've harvested, and to look forward to the promise of new beginnings as the days slowly begin to lengthen again. As the night falls and the Yule celebration begins, the fire crackles in the hearth, casting flickering shadows across the room. You can feel the warmth of the flames spread throughout the space, enveloping everyone in a cozy embrace. The Yule log, a symbol of light and renewal, burns steadily, and its glowing embers represent the promise of the sun's return, reminding you that despite the long, dark months ahead, there is always the hope of light and growth on the horizon. The table, laden with hearty dishes, brings the entire family and community together. Roast meats, perhaps venison, boar, or lamb, fill the air with their savory aromas. The root vegetables, carefully stored and now tender, are roasted to perfection, their flavors enhanced by the slow cooking. There's bread, fresh from the oven, its crust golden brown and inviting. The cider flows freely, filling the room with a sweet, festive scent, and the wine sparkles in the candlelight, a drink to toast to the passing of another year. As the meal is served, you exchange gifts, both small and meaningful. These are not grand items, but things that have been crafted with care: handmade wooden carvings, woolen mittens, dried herbs bundled with ribbons. Each gift is a token of appreciation, a way to express love and gratitude for those who have shared in the year's harvest and the hardships of the cold months. There is no rush, no expectation of extravagance, only a simple joy in giving and receiving, a symbol of connection and a reminder that the community is what keeps everyone strong, especially through the long, hard winters. The conversation flows easily, the atmosphere light and warm, filled with the sound of laughter and shared stories. The elders speak of times past, recounting legends of the gods, the land, and the changing seasons. The younger ones listen intently, learning not just the tales, but the values they carry. These stories are not just for entertainment, they are lessons, ways to understand the world around you, and reminders of the deep ties that bind the community together. The old ways are kept alive through these words, passed down from one generation to the next. As the night stretches on, you gather closer around the fire, the warmth of both the flames and the company providing a sense of comfort and belonging. The darkness of winter may seem oppressive at times, but with the Yule celebration, it is transformed. The light of the fire and the laughter of the people fill the room, and for that moment, the cold seems far away. Yule is not just a celebration of the sun's return, it's a celebration of life, community, and hope. It's a time to reflect on the year that's passed, to give thanks for the harvest, and to look ahead to the future. As the days begin to lengthen and the promise of spring feels just a little bit closer, you know that, like the Yule log, the warmth of this night will continue to glow through the cold winter, keeping you grounded, connected, and ready for the days to come. The Yule festival is more than just a celebration, it is a time for spiritual renewal. As the fire burns bright, you and your family gather to share stories, passing down legends and myths that have shaped your culture. You talk about the gods and the spirits of the land, telling tales of Thor and Freya, of the great Yggdrasil and the cycles of nature. The stories help to ground you, reminding you of the deep connection between the earth, the seasons, and the community. You might also take part in gift giving, a tradition that strengthens the bonds between family and neighbors. The gifts are simple, often handmade, crafted with care and thoughtfulness. a carved wooden figurine, a warm pair of woolen socks, or a jar of preserved fruit. These are not extravagant presents, but they are full of meaning, and each one is a token of appreciation and goodwill. The exchange of gifts is not just about material things. It's about acknowledging the strength of your relationships and the importance of the community you live in. As the gifts are exchanged, there's a sense of quiet joy in the simplicity of it all. The handmade items crafted with care are more than just possessions. They are symbols of love and gratitude, tangible reminders of the connection between people. The carved wooden figurine may represent a spirit or a god, carrying with it the energy of the earth and the forest. The woolen socks, knitted by hand, are a reminder of warmth, not just physically, but of the warmth of the community that keeps you all safe and strong. The preserved fruit, sweet and tart, is a taste of the harvest, a reminder that the land provides and that the gifts of nature are meant to be shared. As you receive your own gift, you can feel the thought and intent behind it. You know that it wasn't about the value of the object, but the care and effort put into making it. The feeling of gratitude swells in your chest, not just for the gift itself, but for the person who made it, for the time they spent thinking of you. These moments of exchange are more than just rituals. They're the threads that weave the fabric of your community together. They remind you that in the darkest of winters, it's the people around you who keep the light alive. After the gift-giving, the stories flow more easily. With full bellies and warm hearts, you and your loved ones sit around the fire, sharing legends of Thor, Freya, and the great Yggdrasil, the world tree that connects the heavens, earth, and underworld. The gods and spirits of the land are brought to life in the flickering shadows of the hearth, and you can almost feel the presence of these ancient beings in the room with you. Thor, with his mighty hammer, protects the people from the chaos of the world, while Freya, goddess of love and fertility, brings balance and beauty to the land. The stories of these gods are not just tales, they are guides, teaching you how to live in harmony with nature and the seasons, how to face the hardships of life with courage and grace. As the fire burns low and the night stretches on, you realize that Yule is more than just a festival. It is a time to reconnect with the earth, with the gods, and with one another. It is a time to honor the cycles of nature, to reflect on the year that has passed, and to look forward to the new beginnings that the coming of the sun will bring. The cold may have gripped the land, but within the warmth of the community, the stories, and the gifts shared, you are reminded that you are never truly alone. You are a part of something larger, something that spans generations, that connects you to the land, to your ancestors, and to the very rhythms of the earth. With the Yule celebration, you feel renewed, a little lighter, a little stronger, ready to face whatever the winter months bring, knowing that the strength of your community and the gifts of the earth will carry you through. While the cold outside may be unyielding, you've learned to find joy even in the harshest months. The winter days are long, and the nights even longer, but rather than feeling isolated, you embrace the opportunities that the cold weather brings for indoor activities. You gather around the fire with your family and neighbors, the crackling flames creating a warm, inviting glow. It's during these quiet moments that the bonds of the community feel strongest, whether you're playing cards, singing, or simply sharing stories. You might spend evenings singing old folk songs, the melodies carrying through the air as you sit close together, the music, passed down through generations, helps lift your spirits in the dark months. Songs about the land, the gods, and the changing seasons are reminders of the shared history you carry with others. You laugh, you sing, you play. These simple joys are the foundation of winter life, helping you to not only endure but thrive during the cold, dark days. The warmth from the fire wraps around you like a comforting blanket, and as you sit close to the hearth, you can't help but feel a deep sense of connection not just to your family, but to the generations before you who lived through the same long winters, found joy in the same simple pleasures, and passed down these traditions to you. The folk songs you sing are more than just tunes. They are the voice of the community, the heartbeat of your shared history, echoing through the walls and filling the room with nostalgia and meaning. The songs tell stories of the land you live on, of its challenges, its beauty, and its power. They speak of gods who once walked the earth, of spirits who guard the forests and the rivers. The melodies remind you that the earth is alive, that everything around you, the trees, the animals, the sky, has its own story to tell. You don't just sing to pass the time. You sing to keep the connection alive, to honor the traditions that have shaped your world, and to strengthen the bonds that hold your community together. On nights when the wind howls outside and the snow piles high, the warmth of the fire and the sound of laughter and song fill the room with a light that no winter storm can diminish. Card games are another way to pass the time, and you play with a sense of camaraderie, knowing that the outcome doesn't matter as much as the shared moments around the table. The cards are shuffled and dealt, the laughter growing as you joke, challenge one another, and play for small stakes, sometimes a piece of bread, a homemade treat, or just the pride of winning. The games may be lighthearted, but they also serve a greater purpose. They bring everyone together, providing a sense of belonging and unity during the long, cold months. With every hand played, every card dealt, you build the fabric of your community even tighter, reinforcing the idea that in the darkest days, you are not alone. You are part of something larger, something that will carry you through the cold, helping you to not just survive, but to live in harmony with the season. In these moments of shared joy, it's clear that winter, though long and often unforgiving, has its own beauty. It's a time to slow down, to reconnect with the people around you, and to embrace the quiet pleasures of the season. As you gather around the fire, you realize that these simple activities, singing, playing cards, telling stories, are the lifeblood of winter. They are what make these months not just something to endure, but something to cherish. In the midst of the harshest cold, you found warmth not just in the fire, but in the community, in the shared traditions, and in the unbreakable bonds that keep you strong. And as the days stretch on and the nights grow even longer, you hold these moments close, each song, each laugh, each hand of cards, as a reminder that no matter how cold it gets outside, there is always warmth to be found within. While the world outside is covered in snow, inside your home is where the true warmth lies. You gather with friends and family, coming together to share meals, stories, and laughter. In these moments, the cold and the isolation seem to fade away. The shared warmth of the fire, the comfort of laughter, and the sense of belonging make winter not just bearable, but enjoyable. You know that no matter how cold it gets, the community will always be there, offering support, companionship, and joy. As the days stretch on and the winter deepens, You realize that these traditions, these small moments of connection, are what truly help you endure. The Yule festival, the gatherings around the fire, the singing, they are what keep you grounded and remind you that even in the harshest of winters, there is warmth, there is connection, and there is always hope for the days to come. As the days stretch into weeks and the snow piles higher, you begin to understand just how essential these small moments of connection are. The Yule festival, the gatherings around the fire, the shared songs and stories, they are more than just traditions. They are lifelines. Each laugh, each word spoken, each note sung is a thread weaving you closer to those you care about, creating a warmth that the cold can never extinguish. These rituals provide the strength to face the long nights, the resilience to endure the bitter cold, and the sense of belonging that no winter storm can take away. You realize that, in many ways, it's not the physical warmth from the fire that sustains you, it's the emotional warmth shared with those around you. These moments of connection remind you that, though the winter is harsh, community is what helps you thrive. Whether you're sitting side by side around the hearth, telling tales of the gods, or simply laughing at a joke, these moments fill your soul with light. And when the world outside feels dark and isolating, you find comfort in knowing that the bonds between you and your loved ones are unbreakable, even in the harshest of conditions. As the winter days continue to pass, you find yourself looking forward to these gatherings even more. The simplicity of sharing a meal, sitting by the fire, or singing together feels like a blessing, an opportunity to slow down, to rest, and to be fully present with the people who matter most. In a world where the cold outside is unrelenting, inside your home, there is always a place for joy, for connection, and for hope. You find solace in the idea that spring will eventually come. But even as you wait for the thaw, you know that these moments, these quiet nights of warmth and togetherness, are the true treasures of the winter month. They are a reminder that no matter how dark or cold the world outside may become, light and warmth are always within reach when you have the love and companionship of those around you. As the fire crackles and the wind howls outside, you feel a deep sense of peace. You are not alone, and you never will be. With each passing day, you are strengthened by the community, the warmth, and the unspoken promise that no matter what the winter brings, you will endure together. As the days grow shorter and the cold settles in, you begin to understand that winter is not merely a season, it's a defining part of your life, a core aspect of your identity. In Scandinavia, winter isn't just about surviving the cold. It's about embracing it, learning to live in harmony with the harsh environment. Winter has shaped the way you think, the way you live, and the way you connect with your community. It's woven into the fabric of your culture and has been passed down through generations, creating a shared heritage that binds you to those who came before and those who will come after. You see how the long winters have forged not just your survival skills, but also your resilience, the adaptability of your ancestors who faced the same cold winds and deep snows is reflected in you today. Winter in Scandinavia isn't something to endure, it's something to embrace. It teaches you patience, strength, and the importance of community. Every snowstorm, every long night, every challenge faced in the cold reinforces the idea that survival here is not just about brute strength, but about wisdom, resourcefulness, and connection. Winter in Scandinavia has taught you that resilience is more than just surviving the cold. It's about thriving in it. The bitter winds, the endless nights, and the deep snow are all part of the rhythm of life here. But so are the traditions that have evolved alongside them, the customs that guide your actions, the rituals that mark the passing of time, all carry the wisdom of generations. These practices aren't just about enduring, they're about finding joy and meaning in the face of adversity. The community that you've built, the stories shared around the fire, the meals enjoyed together, all serve to remind you that winter is not just a time of hardship but also of reflection, connection, and renewal. You look back on how your ancestors not only survived the cold, but used it to shape their culture and identity. They didn't just make do with what was available, they thrived by adapting to the world around them, using the land, the snow, and the ice to sustain themselves. They relied on the skills and knowledge that have been passed down, learning to use the harsh environment to their advantage. As the long nights stretch on, you feel that same strength rising within you, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing how to navigate and embrace the challenges winter brings. In the midst of the cold, you see the true spirit of Scandinavian life. The community, the bonds formed through shared hardship, and the understanding that survival is a collective effort. The patience required to endure the long winters is mirrored by the warmth of the relationships you have. Relationships built on trust, support, and the recognition that together you are stronger. It's this strength, passed down through generations, that helps you and your community face each winter with hope, resilience, and an enduring sense of purpose. Winter, for you, is no longer a season to simply survive. It is a part of who you are, woven into the very fabric of your identity. It shapes how you approach life, how you face challenges, and how you find meaning and joy in every snowflake, every frozen lake, and every night spent gathered with loved ones. You understand now that the winter is not just something to endure, it is something to embrace, something that has shaped your character and your culture, and something that will continue to do so for generations to come. Winter life has forged in you a set of survival skills that are unique to your culture, passed down through generations of those who lived in the face of hardship. You've learned how to manage resources, how to preserve food, how to keep warm in the coldest months, and how to stay connected to the earth and to the people around you. Each method, whether it's preserving food, gathering water, or maintaining warmth, is a lesson that has been carefully passed down through stories, practices, and rituals. More than just survival, the winter months have helped to shape a deep sense of tradition. The festivals, the songs, the Yule celebrations, the time spent around the fire, they've become more than just ways to pass the time. They are a reflection of the strength of the community and the resilience of your culture. In the cold and isolation, you found comfort not only in practical skills, but also in the bonds that are formed when you gather together. Winter brings you closer to the earth, to your ancestors, and to one another, reinforcing the sense that Scandinavia is a place where the land, the people, and the traditions are inextricably linked. Through it all, you've learned that winter is more than just a season, it's a way of life. It shapes who you are, how you live, and how you thrive in the coldest months. As the darkness stretches on, you feel the strength and pride that come from being a part of a culture that has endured for centuries, in the harshest of conditions, with a deep connection to the land, its people, and the traditions that keep it all alive. As you reflect on the winter months, it becomes clear that they are more than just a test of endurance. They are a time for growth, for connection, and for deepening your understanding of the world around you. Each winter, the rhythms of life slow down, allowing you to step back and appreciate the simplicity and beauty of your surroundings, the quiet of the snow, the stillness of the forests, and the flicker of candlelight inside your home. In this peaceful solitude, you have the opportunity to reconnect with the traditions and values that define who you are. Winter in Scandinavia is not just about surviving the harsh conditions, it's about finding meaning in them. It's about learning to live in harmony with the seasons, to accept the cycles of nature, and to embrace the lessons they bring. The long nights and deep snow force you to slow down and focus on what truly matters: family, community, and the land that sustains you. The challenges of winter bring people together, reminding you that you are never alone in your struggles. The bonds you've forged with those around you are strengthened in the cold, as you all work together to stay warm, share resources, and support each other. The traditions of winter, from the Yule celebrations to the simple act of gathering around the fire, provide a sense of continuity, a thread that ties you to your ancestors and to those who will come after you. These practices are a way to honor the past, to preserve the wisdom of those who lived before you, and to ensure that future generations will carry forward the same spirit of resilience, adaptability, and community. The songs, the stories, the rituals, they are all part of a living tradition that has been shaped by the land, the seasons, and the hardships of winter. And as the darkness of winter slowly gives way to the light of spring, you are reminded that the seasons are interconnected. Just as the land rests and renews during the winter months, so too do you, drawing strength from the challenges faced and the connections made. The return of the sun marks not just the end of a cold season, but the beginning of new opportunities, new growth, new possibilities, and the continuation of traditions that ensure the endurance of your culture. Winter, in the end, is not just a season to endure, but a way of life to be celebrated. It's a time of deep reflection, of honoring the past, and of preparing for the future. It's in the silence of the snow-covered landscape, in the warmth of the fire and the community gathered around it, that you find the true spirit of Scandinavia, a spirit of resilience, connection, and shared strength. And as you continue to face the winter months, you know that, like your ancestors before you, you will carry these traditions forward, ensuring that the cycles of life continue, year after year, in the cold, snowy world you call home. As the night deepens and the cold settles outside, may you find warmth and peace in the moments of reflection and rest. Good night, and may your dreams carry the strength and spirit of the seasons, just as the traditions of your ancestors have endured through the ages. Sleep well.